Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Om. Namaskaram. My greetings, dear sisters and brothers. My name is Maheshwar. My last name, which denotes who is my spiritual father, is Ramana Sadguru, the name of the holy divine master Ramana, the Sadguru of the holy mountain in India, called by many names like Arunachala mountain, Annamalai, Sonagiri, so forth. Here, I want to share with you about the title of this video, which is The Secret of How to Never Suffer Again. Before that, I want to say that this secret is something that I learned directly from the Divine Master Ramana, also known as Ramana Maharshi, when he attained the state of divine illumination when he was only 16 years old. And he expresses what the ancient wisdom of India for thousands of years calls Sanatana Dharma, which means the eternal way to wisdom, also known as Hinduism, but Hinduism is a foreign word. Sanatana Dharma is authentic native Indian word term from thousands of years. And this ancient wisdom teaches us that there is a way to escape from suffering forever. And Ramana Maharshi, the Sadguru, he has brought to humanity the exact method of how to do it, how to be able to go within and discover your real self, which never suffers. Most of humanity, they don't know what's the purpose of this life, why they have come to this world. They don't know that it's a sacred, sublime mission, a dharma. They don't know. So really, they're like living in vain, because if you don't know the sacred dharma, the sacred mission for which you have come to this world, then you're not fulfilling your duty. And people think that we're in this world to achieve many worldly things like becoming rich, or becoming a famous artist, or becoming a powerful emperor, governor of a kingdom, or getting married to the beautiful woman, having children, having a home, or becoming a professional in such and such a field, graduating from university, or buying the most fabulous car. There's so many objectives that people have on the worldly level. And I'm not saying that's bad, but they're not the purpose, the sublime and sacred purpose for which we have come to this world. And when one is not fulfilling one's sacred purpose of being here, one will be subject to sufferings. And people suffer also because they think they are such and such name, and name of such and such, born in such a country, to such and parents, to marry to such a person that has this profession, that likes this, that doesn't like that. Those are all things that pertain to the false I, because we're not Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so. That's the name of the role, of the character that we're playing in this theater of the world. That's the role of the character. And we're playing a script. Each one has his own script. But that's not the real I. People think they're the role. They don't know that there's an actor or an actress, the real self, which is behind the role. So since they identify themselves with the character name such and such, they identify themselves with the body, which is something so fragile that could be injured, maimed, have a catastrophic disease, becomes old, dies. They identify themselves with the body, with the name, with the script. Oh, I'm a professional in this area, or I'm a billionaire, or that's only part of the role. And since the role is human, there's a law in the universe that is called the law of duality. Everything that's human is subject to the law of duality, which means two. Like cold and heat, the sun and the moon, day and night, pleasure and joys, success, failures, death, rebirth, again rebirth, death, death and rebirth again, happiness and misery, suffering. That's the law of duality. And when one thinks that one is such and such, since that personality is human, then it's subject to the law of duality. That's why the person will be happy at one moment, and another moment the person can be in an accident or a tragedy and suffer and cry. One can come to this world, a beautiful birth, and then one can be in the bed dying of old age, in pain. That's all part of the character. That's not the real I. That's part of the script of the false I, the character. So the great sages, the great mystics of India, of thousands of years ago, whom created the Sanatana Dharma, the path of wisdom, the path to discover who one really is, they realized that they weren't the character. So instead of going outwards towards the world, towards the universe, outside of oneself, they decided to close their eyes and go within. And go within because they intuitively perceive that behind this role, this character of such and such was the real I, the real self. And they developed different techniques of going within. And then they started discovering their real self. And the more they went within, discovering their real self, the more they felt peace, happiness, harmony, because the real self is divine, our divine spirit. And since it's not human, it's not subject to the universal law of duality, so it's always in one state, not in two states, one state, always in perfect peace, happiness, wisdom, harmony, bliss. And they went going more and more within, and the more they went within, then the false I, the ego, who one thinks one is, the false human I, ego, started dissolving itself. And eventually, as time went by, it disappeared because they just plunged totally within their real self. It's like one's consciousness now, the consciousness we have right now, that I'm speaking, you're listening. This is I. This consciousness of I am listening, I am talking, I am. But I am comes directly from the self, from our real divine self. It's like a ray of the sun. Let's say our real self will be like the immense sun of light, of luminosity. So that ray, instead of going outwards, they started going within, following that ray of consciousness of I amness. And the rays start dissolving in its source, like the infinite sun, full of light, where there's no darkness, there's only peace and happiness. This image of a sun is just an image. Our real self is not a sun. It's something that is not an object. It's a pure state of supreme, divine being of consciousness, happiness. So then, that's what they discovered. You had to go within. First, you have to realize that you're not so and so. You're not this human personality that everybody thinks you are, and you think you are. When you look at the mirror, you think you're the body. Something so fragile and ephemeral, and so tragic. You have to start discovering who you are. So, in the worldly sense, people, like I said, go outwards, trying to gain worldly objectives, like I already mentioned, becoming rich or famous, powerful, or getting a doctorate degree in university, or getting married to the most beautiful partner and having a home with children. All these things, which are not bad, but they're going outwards. So they'll continue to suffer because the human I, the personality, is subject to the law of duality. And then there's those paths of religion, of spirituality, spiritual paths throughout the world, that they want to escape from suffering, but there's a problem. Almost 100% of those paths are also in duality, because the spiritual seeker that's walking on a spiritual path, like let's say a Catholic, he has a rosary and he's praying, he's reciting the rosary. Well, it's duality, because it's the subject I, the devotee, the Catholic devotee, concentrating on the rosary and on the words he's reciting. They're the object of attention. So when there's subject and object, that's duality. So whenever our attention goes outwards, starting with our body, which is an object, starting with our thoughts, which are objects, our feelings are objects, when one starts concentrating in a spiritual technique, which is outwards, like that example I gave you, the rosary, the consciousness goes outwards. So they'll never discover their real self, because they need to maintain alive the ego to concentrate on the rosary. And that happens in all other paths, spiritual and religious paths in the world. In other techniques, person concentrates on any of the 7 chakras, on, let's say, the third eye. They concentrate on that. That's an object. It's outwards. Or they concentrate on the energy, universal energy, through prana, through the breathing. Or they concentrate on a mantra, reciting Om or any other mantra hundreds of times. Or you concentrate on the flame of a candle. So by concentrating on the flame of the candle, you want to get rid of the other thoughts, so you stay with one thought, but that thought is an object, so you're still going outwards. Or if you concentrate on an image, like they say mindfulness, well, that's also an object of attention. Or where you concentrate on a book, this is a sacred book, this is the Word of God, and that's a book, so you're concentrating in an object, you're going outwards. Or if you are concentrating on the picture, on a photo of whom you think is a spiritual master, no matter If it's a spiritual master, you're still going outwards. You're not solving the problem. Or if you're concentrating on a deity or a statue of any of the deities, there's so many techniques. Our other techniques are to listen to a divine sound or divine light within you. These are all objects, and the attention goes outwards. So even in the spiritual path, friends have told me, oh, but when I practice this technique of this meditation, of this concentration, there are moments where I feel peace and happiness. Sure, there are moments where you feel happiness or peace, but you haven't solved the problem of destroying the ego, the human I. So after the moment of happiness, any moment you'll suffer again, like the next door neighbor who is totally mundane and worldly, doesn't care about spiritual things. You'll suffer like him. The same diseases, the same accidents, the same tears for different reasons, but also suffer. So you didn't solve the problem. So either through the worldly path, which are all dualities, concentration, or the spiritual path, techniques throughout the different religions of the world, which you also can concentrate on devotional singing to the Lord. Well, that's an object, You're singing, you're imagining in the Lord, and you're singing, so the Lord becomes your object of attention, instead of you going within to discover your real self and discover the Lord within you, your divine self. So then those ancient rishis, ancient seers of thousands of years ago, discovered this truth that you got to go within to discover who you really are. And the more you do, the less you'll be enslaved to the ego, to the body, to the emotions, to the fears, to the sufferings. You become more and more free until the ego vanishes forever, and then you're in your real self, eternal happiness and bliss. And there was a technique to do that, but it was lost throughout thousands of years. It has been lost in the scriptures of the world, in this case of India, Sanatana Dharma. But then Ramana Maharshi, which is the most recent avatar, means a divine incarnation, a master whose ego does not exist. So it's just a divine with him that's expressing through the body. It's a divine incarnation. That's what's called avatar, a sacred word from the holy language Sanskrit of India, avatar or avatara, the same. So he recently came and revealed the technique of how to do it, how to go within. Because you try to go within, if you don't know, you get bombarded by thoughts and thoughts and thoughts, hundreds of thoughts, and you cannot go within. So he brought a formula, a great secret, a great antidote of how to go beyond all these thoughts and go within to discover your real self. It's called Atma Vichara. Atma Vichara, also known as Vichara, to make it short. Atma Vichara, in the way that Ramana has taught the world of seekers, of course. In another video in my channel, Sacred Cow Yoga, you could see where I explain about the technique, the formula, the secret of going within, how to get rid of all these thoughts so you can go within and discover your real self, and your life will start changing immediately. You start experiencing something new in your life. That's 100% sure. But here, I'm just revealing that the secret to never suffer is to stop believing that you're the false I. Start believing you're the false I, and start then searching within to discover your real self. And your life will start changing if you're mature enough to enter this last teaching. This is the highest teaching, the last teaching, because all the other paths, worldly and spiritual paths, they go outwards. So they maintain they maintain alive the ego, because for you to concentrate on Jesus on the cross, or on a rosary, or on a mantra, or on a chakra, or singing spiritual songs, or on a picture of a guru, you need to have the ego alive to concentrate on the object. So you'll never escape. So your technique has to be, this is what Ramana has brought to us from the ancient rishis of thousands of years ago, unknown. He brought it again to the fore. Your technique has to be non-dual. So in this form, he teaches the devotee, the sadhaka, that we're the subject. So instead of the subject concentrating outwards towards the object, there's no object of attention. There's no outward technique, including the body, the mind, the thoughts. Those are our objects. There's none of that. So then, since your consciousness cannot go outwards, it can only go back to the source, to the divine source, where this consciousness that I exist, I am real. The body may not be I, the thoughts may not be I, the emotions may not be, are not I. None of this is I. And the name such and such is not I. None of this is I. But something is real. It's I exist. I am. I cannot deny that I am. I can deny that you exist. I can deny that there's life in the universe. I can deny a million of external things, but no one can deny that one exists, that I am. So then, Ramana teaches through this Atma Vichara, this technique of Vichara, that there's no duality, no object of attention. So then the attention of the subject of I, instead of going outwards, starts going back to the source. And then you start entering a new dimension, a spiritual growth, a new dimension of consciousness that is part of the infinite consciousness. The more you go within, your life starts changing immediately. And as time goes by, it could be different times for different people. It could be months or years or a lifetime. As time goes by, if you go within, the false I, with all its traditions and inclinations and enslavements to outward things, starts dissolving, starts disappearing. And the moment it dies forever, then through your body, through your eyes, through your speech and your actions, what people will see, without they knowing, it's your real self, your divine self that keeps working. If you have a family, you keep taking care of your family. You still go to work. You help your parents. You still do everything you do now, but not as a human, imperfect, suffering being, but as a wise, perfect, never suffering being full of peace. And you start transmitting that energy, that peace, that harmony, that happiness to your own family, to your spouse, to your babies, to your children, to your parents, to your elderly mother and father, to society. You start spreading because it's an energy that goes outwards. Even if people don't see it, people near it, when they're mature, they start feeling and they start enriching themselves with what you're gaining. So that's, I think it's pretty much clear what I have said up to now, that the secret to never suffer is to first understand that you're not the false human I. You're not this fragile body that could be killed or maimed or injured or get a catastrophic disease or an accident and becomes old and starts suffering in your deathbed. That's not the real self. You're more than that. You're not even the mind, the thought that I am so and so. Thoughts are objects, the emotions. Now you're happy, another moment you could be full of fear of anger. That's not the real I. So this is like an introduction, a very full of wisdom introduction film for those sisters and brothers who are already sufficiently mature spiritually, because worldly people, they won't even come to to my YouTube altar of consciousness. They won't care for this. Only spiritual people and spiritual people that are ready for it. Because I have known so many brothers and sisters, they don't care for this because they are accustomed to doing their job of the mantras or concentrating on the Lord, and singing songs, or concentrating on the Quran or the New Testament or the Bible of the Jews, or so many different paths, mindfulness, Buddhist mindfulness, or the chakras. There's so many techniques all do us. So many of them are still attached to that. So they hear me, they won't try this. Only people that through their growth in previous lives are already spiritually mature for this, because this is the last step of the ladder of growth. This is the final teaching, supreme teaching, because humanity has been asking themselves in numerous questions: what's in space, what's in the bottom of the ocean, what's in through the microscope, what is this, what is that? But they're not spiritually mature to ask the only real, necessary, and supreme question. Wait a minute, it's not what's in the Milky Way. It's not what's in the depth of the ocean or in the microscope. It's He that is seeing this. It's this I. It's a subject. So wait a minute. So I don't know who I am. So why do I want to know something else? So let me then go to the supreme question: who am I? Only those that take that as their supreme and really necessary question are ready for this that I was revealed. I want to briefly say that I started in this holy path of Sanatana Dharma in 1975 with a guru from India, and I lived with that guru in his ashram, his community. I lived there. And in 1978, all of a sudden, Ramana Maharshi, Ramana Varunachara of the Holy Mountain, appeared to me. He appeared to me all of a sudden, spiritually, and I fell in a trance of such a out of this world happiness, peace, and ecstasy, of bliss. It was something out of this world, something so strong that you cannot have it in this world. There's no pleasure, no joy in this world so strong. It's something that's not human, it's beyond. And that was an incredible experience. And the thing is that I didn't know who he was before that. I never had read anything about him. And the most important thing, I wasn't looking for a guru, because I was living with my guru of India at that moment in his ashram, in his community. So that makes it still more exceptional. And then, but there's, not getting into these details, but there's a video, a film here in my channel, where it says the dead guru, or my testimony. Has two titles: my testimony of miraculous events and the dead guru. There I explain, I reveal, I share with sisters and brothers the 3 times that he appeared to me in 3 different countries. And there you can see what happened to me, and I'm revealing it, I'm sharing it there. So I won't take time here, but I want to tell you something very important. When he appeared to me those 3 times in 1978, his body is in the tomb in the ashram in India, in ashram at the foot of the holy mountain of Annamalai, Arunachala, different names, the holy mountain. His body is there since 1950. So his body died in 1950, and decades later, he appears to me and to many other people to bless me and bless us. So that's a real master. A real master doesn't need to have a body to keep expressing his living presence, his divine living presence, like happened to me. He transcends the body. So without the body, he appeared to me like so many others. And a real master also transcends time and space. Time, because decades after his body died, his living presence manifested to me and to others. And space, because in India, the body died there. And he manifested to me in other parts of the world, including the West. So a real master transcends the body, doesn't need the body, doesn't need time or space, transcends all that. It's a continuous living presence that keeps blessing me and so many other people. But that's another topic that you can find more information, other films in my channel. And remember that under all my videos, I always put important information. Some people, they're not conscious of the importance of details, and they see something important, they don't go down to see the description, or they don't go to my channel where it says about, where it says what my channel is about. Well, details are important. Excellence is built upon details. And then in my channel, you'll find everywhere, I have my email address. So if somebody wants to comment or write to me, they have how to contact me. And then I also mentioned certain precious Shastras, holy Shastras, which are holy scriptures of wisdom, also under my video, where people can also get more information. So feel free to contact me if you think you're ready for this last final teaching. After this, there's no more teaching. You don't have to reincarnate anymore, because once you discover your real divine self, the false I disappears forever. So you don't need to come to this world again. You don't need to keep learning. Everything is already fulfilled. You're totally in perfect peace and harmony and wisdom. So, dear brothers and sisters, I hope this has been some help. That's the purpose of I making this video. You know, this is something, just a brotherly offering from my heart to sisters and brothers which are already mature for this blessing, so I can share the treasures I have been given, which are out of this world. It's something incredible that I have never been the same since this came into my life. And to share with sisters and brothers which are already mature enough. If all I said here doesn't move you, doesn't inspire you, then you're not ready for this yet. But if it does inspire you, then this is a sign that you didn't come here because of coincidence. You were sent here for this message. So take the next step. Go discover what this is all about for your own benefit. Because this is a free spiritual offering I do. We don't, Sanatana Dharma, we don't believe in converting people. No, this is a very intimate, individual, profound conversion from within, not from without. So, dear brothers and sisters, many blessings, and what can I say? Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Dakshinamurti Ramanaya Shiva. Om.